2027. How Obidents are planning Obi's victory. Boys, Delta Obident Chair. Chief Chris Boyce, popularly known as Obident Daddy, is the chairman of Delta Obident Elders Council, who was the teaching service commissioner in the defunct Bende state. In this interview, he spoke on the tax reforms bill, INEC, Tinubu's economic policies, and the Obidient movement's preparation for the 2027 general election. Many Nigerians are presently of the view that INEC lack the capacity to conduct free, fair, and credible elections in the country. What do you think is the way forward to put our electoral system on the right track? He responded, public perception of the consistently perfidious conduct of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is quite valid. The real challenge is an entrenched hegemony that pays lip service to democracy but is determined to petulate itself in power and pervert legitimate change of government by democratic process. The first line of action in putting the electoral system on the right track is for Nigerian youth and other stakeholders to make it unmistakably clear to the authorities that they would no longer tolerate political plunderers that steal elections to destroy their lives and drive them to force migration to foreign lands. They must take back their country. A critical mass of Nigerians from all parts of the country need to engage in mental liberation in the struggle to build a Nigerian nation state that is free from the shackles of neo-colonial and federal bondage and archaic ideas and structures. Second, the Electoral Act must be amended to make electronic transmission of results at polling units, ward, state, and national levels compulsory. In this regard, pro-democracy activists and civil society organizations (CSOs) must join hands with patriotic political formations in the country to renew the battle for electoral reform that resulted in passing the Electoral Act 2022. Third, a critical mass of the electorate, particularly the youth population, could establish a trained pro-democracy brigade in each village or community to stoutly and uncompromisingly resist and expose vote buyers whenever or wherever they come along to purchase the future and destiny of Nigeria youth. The legal framework is absolutely necessary, but it is never sufficient to ensure proper conduct of transparency of INEC officials. The fourth line of action, therefore, is for uncompromising democracy enforcers or youth brigaders to ensure that INEC officials comply with voting regulations in all polling booths and collation centers across the country. I personally strongly believe that the presidential system is unsuitable to consolidate democracy in a multinational and underdeveloped country like Nigeria. It is inordinately expensive and excludes many competent persons from participating in elections. It encourages executive dictatorship and abuse of power. The parliamentary system is less expensive, more participatory, and more suitable for grassroots leadership recruitment. The Labour Party enjoyed massive support from the Obidient movement in the 2023 general elections. What do you think are the chances of the party in 2027 looking at the leadership tussle that has engulfed it? He responded, a lot of Nigerians confuse the Obidient movement with the Labour Party LP. The movement is not a political party. It constitutes a category of Nigerians from all walks of life, both at home and in diaspora, who strongly abhor injustice, man's inhumanity to man, religious bigotry, grand corruption, and nepotism, and are resolute in fighting these debilitating vices that beset the polity. The movement includes individuals from all political parties and those who do not belong to any political party, who share the political ideas and values of Mr. Peter Obi. I am not an official of the LP and cannot comment on the state of preparation of that party in future elections. Is the Obident movement ready to mobilize support for Peter Obi if he decides to contest the 2027 presidential elections? He responded, Mr. Peter Obi is an uncompromising fighter for truth and social justice. He is intellectually, morally, and spiritually prepared to reconcile historical contradictions and checkmate negative, long-standing headwinds that threatens the political fabric and corporate existence of the Nigerian state. This accounts for his fervent nationwide support base. The movement is currently engaged in vigorous campaigns across the length and breadth of Nigeria for attitudinal change of the electoral against vote buying and selling. This is a gigantic undertaking aimed at major social transformation and value reorientation towards self-reliance and self-worth. The Obedient movement is irrevocably devoted and unrelenting in mobilizing support for Mr. Peter Obi. This continues today and in the future. The Obedient movement went about the 2023 general elections without a recognized leadership structure. How organized and prepared would the movement be for the 2027 election? I can tell you with confidence that unlike the situation prior to the 2023 presidential election, the Obedient movement is currently formalizing and consolidating its organizational structure throughout the country. In September 2024, Mr. Peter Obi appointed Dr. Tanko Yanusa, former chief spokesperson of the Obi Dati presidential campaign, as coordinator of the Obident movement in Nigeria and diaspora. The movement is poised to translate its global support network in collaboration with workers and other social movements to ensure unassailable electoral victory for Mr. Peter Obi on whatever platform he chooses to contest the 2027 presidential election. What is your take on the economic policies of President Bola Tinubu, and how far do you think they can go in ameliorating the hardship being faced by Nigerians? The twin pillars of President Bola Tinubu's economic policy, fuel subsidy removal and flouting of the Nigerian naira, constitutes an economic ill wind that can do the toiling masses of Nigeria no good. It is a rehash of the Structural Adjustment Programs (SAP), which Nigeria's sixth military dictator, General Ibrahim Babangida retired, imposed on the country in 1986. SAP entailed trade and payment liberalization. This requires the absence of or reduction in the state control of trade and industry. Another pillar of SAP is rotationalization, which entails privatization and commercialization of public sector enterprises. As with Babangida's SAP, the consequences of President Tinubu's version of deregulation were immediate, economically and socially catastrophic, and irreversible. Tinubu submitted the Nigerian economy to the vagaries of the international market without first preparing the country to withstand the shock or even to produce its basic needs such as food. The growth in monetary terms being touted by the Tinubu's administration serves to hide massive economic decline in real terms. The purchasing power of the naira fell drastically.